Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open to Work Beyond the Label. This is a podcast for high performers who are ready to own their story, amplify their value, and step boldly into their next chapter. I'm your host, Laura Colon. I am a sales leader, a certified life coach, a mentor, and a self proclaimed expert at discovery. Today, our guest is James Scott, who I am so excited to have here. He is a seasoned technology leader with an MBA from the University of Texas at Dallas. He's known for bridging the gap between employee experience and customer experience with deep expertise in digital workplace technologies, cloud applications, and contact center systems. James led impactful initiatives at Mary Kay Global, empowering teams, streamlining operations, and driving innovation from the inside out. With a passion for creating environments where employees thrive through technology, James has proven time and time again that when you elevate the employee experience, the customer experience follows. So please join me in welcoming James, a true champion of people-powered technology transformation. So, James, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, James, before we get into your career path, everyone should know who you are at your core beyond the LinkedIn headline. Can you give us some insight?
Sure. So yes, I'm a technology professional and very interested in things around customer experience, employee experience, that sort of thing. But it wasn't always about technology. I actually grew up in high school, was into music. I played piano and was in high school band and I guess I had maybe my first bit of leadership duties when I was in senior year, and I was the drum major at our marching band. And I thought about that earlier, and I never really thought about being a leader or even what that meant. But early on, I always had a desire to mentor people and talk to people and lead. And at some point later on in my life, that sort of manifested in my technical career. I went to school. My original degree was going to be in music. But after a while, when I didn't quite find the niche of what I wanted to do there, I thought about what else I liked and got into computer science from there. And here I am now.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And ultimately, I knew you liked music, but wow, that's impactful to know that that's where really your leadership experience started. So that's great. And technology is also a very great place to be. So
Right.
that's really good to know. So beyond the resume, let's talk about that for a second. So if anyone goes checks you out on LinkedIn, they can see what your resume says. But what doesn't show up on your resume that people should know about you and your professional story?
Well, I think, again, talking about that link, that common connection between employee experience and customer experience, the way that I go about, just trying to understand issues and kind of visualize problems really helps me to see that when I sit down with someone and look at a process or think about how they're doing something, it's just one of those things in my brain that I have to really think about, is that the best way to do something? Is there another way? And I'm always kind of thinking about how do we improve things, even if something seems to be working okay or no one's really reported issues or anything like that. It's one of those things that is continually going through my mind when I talk to people or see something, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so it sounds like you've got a growth mindset and you're really focused on the outcomes, which we work together. So
Hmm.
I recognize that firsthand when working with you was that it wasn't about any of let's do this way because it's always been this way. It's a we're trying to get to this outcome. So how can we get that in the best way? And so sounds like that's something that is a strength for you. What are some other strengths or values that have stayed consistent for you throughout your career?
Well, I think responsibility is one of my strengths and just wanting to always make sure that one, I understand clearly what the outcome is, desired and what we're trying to achieve. And really, once I know that, making sure that we do everything we can to actually make that happen. For me, not being able to complete something or not getting something done on time, understanding there are always things that come up, but I always strive to try to make sure that if I have a task, if I have a clear direction, that I'm going to follow that through till the end.
Yeah. And I think with your background in technology, it's important that you have a responsibility to align with all of the different users and departments within the organization. One project that you work on that affects sales, as an example, might affect multiple different individuals within the organization. And so something that I observed working with you was that you did that. You made sure that if it's a change that you're potentially making from an IT standpoint, you're thinking about all of the different aspects of the business that could be impacted by that change. And so responsibility is definitely something I observed in working with you. James, I know you've worked on many different projects in your career. What's something that you're most proud of?
Well, there certainly were several over the years, but I would have to say my first introduction to contact centers and user experience was looking back, I think was a very proud moment for me because first I didn't really know anything, about contact centers other than what they were and the idea. From a technology standpoint, that was just not something that I was familiar with, but I had the opportunity to take leadership responsibilities over for the technical implementation of our contact center and telephony teams, and being put in that position quickly and really immediately ran into challenges and things about learning from the business side what they needed and learning from the technical side and um, you know and at the same time understanding what was behind all the technology. We ended up at that time we were in the middle of needing to decide if we were going to upgrade our existing on-prem systems or move to the cloud. I helped make the decision that we needed to move to the cloud to actually move forward. So basically doing all of that, learning that technology, learning the business side, and migrating to a completely new system essentially in under a year, was looking back was definitely kind of a turning point and something that I'm proud of because not only was it very successful and good for the business, but for me, getting to get into that space and really opening up this whole world and other side of being on the customer side of things, and seeing those technologies, really kind of helped to shape where I feel like I am today and the things that I'm looking to do.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that being a proud moment for you because again, it's that growth, it's that learning something new and being uncomfortable with change and going forward and like going towards that. And I'll tell you, I've worked with many IT professionals, and unfortunately, I have worked with some that want to do things the same way they've always kind of done it for comfortability.
Right.
And the most successful IT professionals I've worked with are the ones who are like, I haven't done this before, let's do it. And
Right.
so that's an awesome story, and you should be proud of that because that's what makes you a leader in the IT space is like going towards something that you're unfamiliar with, learning it, and diving right in. So you should be proud of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, James, with your transition, I'm sure there's been uncertainty about what's next for me and
Mhm.
change again can be scary, but I know that you've gone forward in the technology space with change. Talk to me about how you've handled the change in now career for you. Like, how have you dealt with the uncertainty in this type of change?
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely is something that's different and is difficult. I, haven't been in a position to look for a new opportunity in quite some time. So obviously the landscape of just learning, how to find open positions and all that sort of thing is very different. And how you present yourself is a different experience. But I think the good thing is that there are a lot of really good people out there who are putting information out there and helping people and kind of showing, how to navigate this space. And certainly just learning and reading up on those things, seminars and that kind of thing really helps to, at least in that initial phase of learning how to navigate, is very helpful. But the other challenge is staying up on actual trends and things that are going on in business and in technology. But it really, the one thing that having additional time to think about some of these things is it helps you to grow more. I've been learning more about these correlations between employee experience and customer experience, and connecting with other leaders who are discussing these things. And while I'm still looking for another position, I'm still growing, and actually I feel like I'm in a better space right now to talk to some of the things that I'm passionate about, and some of the technology than I was even before um, you know uh, I left my last position. So it's definitely a transition, but as long as you are able to be willing to make those changes, and seek out the information, it can actually be beneficial, I think.
I totally agree. I had a short stint where, so I was leading a team and then they got rid of my team and I had to figure out what was next. So in that time, I had actually chose to go back and be an individual contributor in a different part
Mm,
of the business. And I consider that a sabbatical for myself because I had the leadership experience, but now I had some more time to work on me and myself and who I was as a
right.
leader. And when I got back into leadership, I was actually such a better leader for having the time out of leadership to grow and to develop and to
Hmm.
observe. It's like having time can be scary because you're like, okay, I need to find my next role. But actually, I think it could definitely be a blessing for growth because sometimes you're so busy that you don't
Hmm.
have time to realize how do I focus on me because you're so focused on the company and your role and
Right.
doing all the things for the company, you forget about yourself. And so that's great. That's great for you to share that you've had time to grow within this time period. What did you discover, if anything, about yourself during this time period that you're in transition?
It's not as much what I do about myself or what I've learned about myself. It's what I've learned about how I am perceived in the business circles, and my connections. A- and just like with you, I had a lot of great people that I met over the years who were either from vendors that I've done business with, or just other connections over the way. And I think when you get into this position and you reconnect with some of these people, and they're so encouraging and they're so helpful to say, you're gonna do all right. This is gonna be better for you. This is you're gonna find a better opportunity, that sort of thing. I think it kind of that sort of helped open my eyes to say, kind of look at myself from a different perspective, to see that it gave me the confidence to think, yes, I think I must be a good leader, and am respected, because there's all these people that are coming out and saying that. So I feel like because of that, it's giving me more confidence in myself, and understanding that, yes, I do deserve to be in a good position, and a good have continue my leadership skills at the next opportunity, because there's all these people that are really supporting me, and helping with that.
Yeah, isn't community incredible having people that really are on your side and jump
Hmm.
in to help when the hard times do hit?
Right.
That's so important, having community. I've seen you on LinkedIn connecting with so many people and engaging in people's content. And I think that's something, again, a lot of us don't do enough of. So
Hmm.
it's been
Right.
great to see how active you are because it inspires me to get more active myself on LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah, it really is. And I think going forward, I know that even when I find the next opportunity, that I'm going to continue to be active in LinkedIn, because like I said, it's just there's a lot of good information, not just about helping with finding your next gig, but just in general, what's going on in technology and in business, and that sort of thing, and really connecting with others that are doing things that it's definitely a valuable tool that I definitely want to keep using for a while.
Totally. Totally. Absolutely. So, how do you want your next opportunity to feel? Not just what you want to do, but what do you want it to feel like?
Mhm. Well, I definitely wanted to feel like a place where I am able to, a place where there are potentially challenges, or things aren't going quite the right way, or there's room for opportunity or room for growth in what they're trying to do, if it comes to employee experience, or what's happening in the customer success, and that sort of thing. And I like to get in, and understand what is happening, and how can I help. And I think when you ask about what do I want to feel like, I want to feel like I'm really engaging and getting close to the culture, and understanding why that company does what it does, and really trying to take that and understand how we can translate those goals and that mission into making and helping the employees be the best versions of themselves, because with the tools and with the technology, so that they can help fulfill those goals. So really just being able to feel that connection to that mission and know how that can translate into helping employees. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Well, again, you always impress me with your thought processes because, again, it's not just technology. And I think that's where I've met some technology leaders that they're only thinking about the technology, and the technology actually doesn't matter if you're not thinking about the people and the processes and how
Hmm.
that all ties into the mission of the organization. Because
Right.
again, technology alone isn't going to solve any problems. How are the people going to use the technology, and what processes do you have in place to make sure that the technology is working to accomplish the mission? And
Hmm.
so again, that's what I continuously see. You are such an enterprise leader in technology because of the thought process behind the technology. It's not just technology, it's there's so much more behind
Hmm.
driving business outcomes than technology. So that's awesome. I want to ask you this question. Maybe somebody's asked you before, maybe not. What do you wish you knew earlier in your career?
That's a good question. I wish that I knew that. Definitely one thing is I wish I knew that it was okay to ask for help. I know a lot of times early in my career, not just because I may be afraid of asking for help, but because I thought that maybe I didn't need help and I might keep doing something and maybe trying to figure it out and not really getting there, and or trying to do something and doing a decent job but not knowing that I could have done a better job. So I think not being afraid and knowing that asking for help is not shouldn't be looked on as a bad thing. It's actually a sign of strength, and knowing that you don't know everything, and there's very possibly and very likely someone that can give you some tips, even if it's something simple. You never know until you ask. So I think that's probably the one thing that I probably could have done more of early in my career.
Yeah. But I think most of us have to learn that lesson. So the fact that we're saying it out loud now, anyone who's listening that is maybe newer in their career or younger in their career, it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's really important to growth to learn how to ask for help.
Mhm.
So that's
Right.
awesome. That's a great piece of advice. James, if someone hired you tomorrow, what would they gain that they didn't even know that they needed?
That's another good question. Well, yeah. Again, it goes back to, I think, that people aspect. I'm, my background is in computer science. I'm a technical person, and I can learn pretty much any side of technology, I think. But it's really comes down to, I think, how I have good skills at actually communicating with all sorts, basically any person in the corporation, from business leaders to frontline workers to any range of people, and being able to understand what it is, understand where they're coming from, and really be able to take that and translate that into, okay, how do we make change processes, or introduce new technology, or what have you, to help them out. I think it's not just the technical skills that I bring. It's really that personal aspect that I think is something that is hard to put on a resume, and really hard to uh, even intimate over an interview. It's just something that once you get in there, I think it becomes clear that this is a person who's really going to help us make better decisions on the way that we use our technology, and really being able to help the overall organization out.
Yeah, I think any IT person can get a feature list or feature requirements and find technology that gives those people
Hmm.
the capabilities that they're asking for from a feature perspective, but it takes a special leader to just listen to people and then understand, okay, how can I use technology to solve their problems, not
Right.
just give them the features that they're asking for. Great. So, what part of your story, James, do you think deserves more airtime? What have you not shared with me that you feel like you should share out loud for everyone to hear?
You get kind of caught up in just thinking about this is who I am as a technology person, and you have, but then you potentially have this other general day-to-day life that you live doing other things. You mentioned I like music, I like going to hockey games and um, playing hockey and that sort of thing. So if anything, it's that all the things that a person is from what they do at home and the activities and things that they enjoy, all that bubbles up into who they are as a person and ultimately who they are as a professional. So with my story, I think just the fact that I am interested in a lot of different things and I have passions outside of what I do professionally. Um, is something that contributes to how I work and how I go about my business from a professional perspective. So
What was really great about us working together was that every time we had a conversation, you had a really good story to tell. And it's true. When people have fulfilling lives outside of work, they bring their gratitude to work.
hmm
Every
right.
time we connected, you always had a great trip that you can tell me about, a concert that you can tell me about. I knew you liked hockey.
hmm
Um, and it's because you have such a fulfilling life that you create outside of your day to day, and then you can really bring your full self to work because you have all these different passions outside of just the
right.
job.
hmm right.
So I think it's important for people to realize that you shouldn't be your job. And it's so hard because think about how many people you've probably met out at a networking event and you say, "What do you do?" And their first response
mm
is, "I'm, a
yeah,
technology
right.
leader for this company." And that's who they are. Like, what do you do? Who are you? And
hmm
it's their
yeah,
company or their job title. And it really should be so much more than that.
yeah,
And so
absolutely.
it's important people to recognize that life outside of work should be just as fulfilling as what you do day to day at work.
Right.
Okay, I have two more questions for you. What would you tell someone else who is in transition but is feeling stuck? They're feeling like they haven't had enough opportunities. They're not really sure what to do next. What advice can you share from your journey that might inspire someone else who's on a similar path?
So yeah, I would say it is challenging. It is difficult. That's just the nature I think of this. And but not to get concerned or bogged down on, all the news or all the things that you hear, because LinkedIn is a great tool, but it's also can be a little concerning sometimes, and it can tend to feed you news that sort of perpetuates the bad things or the concerned things that you're hearing. So take things that you see with a grain of salt, and know that not everything that you see or everything you read applies to your situation. So really try to think about what you can do and what you can control, when it comes to building your brand and thinking about, really trying to understand where it is you want to go, what you want to do. And take take the things that really resonate with you, take the advice that really resonates with you. And if you see something that seems a little different, or maybe you feel like that's not the way that you would do it, you don't just take everyone's advice at face value. Really internalize and think about what makes sense for you, and do what you feel like you can do tomorrow or the next day, and see how that works, and then keep going. Because yeah, I think it can be a challenge to see the same maybe bad news or the same people saying that this is the wrong way to do it. I think do what works for you, and that really will help.
Yeah, there's so much content and advice and stuff out there. And I think at the end of the day, we all have to just be true to ourselves. We're not going to
hmm
resonate with every message. Every message isn't going to apply to us. And so cutting through the noise and leveraging the information that's going to be impactful for you sounds like a great piece of advice. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we are nearing the end of our session here. James, where can people connect with you? Where can they follow your journey or reach out to you to collaborate on a project?
Yeah, I think probably the best way is to look me up on LinkedIn. Um, I'm there, and like you said, I've been pretty active over the last several months, and again, I am really enjoying meeting people and learning about things. I'm working with a group of people right now that are working on putting together uh, a CX accelerator professional group here in Dallas Fort Worth. So it's going to be like a quarterly meeting where we talk about all things CX from a business and technology standpoint. So I think that's exciting, and that's just another example of reaching out and connecting with people, and finding people with shared interests is really helpful. So yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask me about that and anything else that I can do to help.
Well, I do have some people that follow me in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So any of them are listening, I'm sure they'll be reaching out because I've got a lot of technology professionals in my network. So thank you, James. Thank you for sharing your story. Those of you listening, be sure to connect with James, whether you're hiring or you just want to connect. If this conversation did resonate, please make sure to like, share, tag someone who needs to hear this message. And if you're open to work and want to step into the spotlight, definitely reach out to me. I'm looking for my next guest. So until next time, just remember, everyone, it's not just about being open to work, it's about finding what is next and right for you. So thank you all for listening, and I'm looking forward to connecting again soon. Thanks, James.
Thank you.